Hello, hello, everyone. Good to see you again. Hey, I'm kind of excited about this one here. I was really thinking about, what am I going to talk about this week? And just over this last week, I'm just trying to think of like out of all the calls and people that contacted me and things like that, what are people kind of struggling with? And for some reason, I've had a large amount of people, when I say large, probably five or so people reach out to me specifically about starting a Google review agency and sort of wanting some steps and, like what do you do and how do you set it up? Because, it is a fairly straightforward setup with regards to Highlevel. You're only using a very small portion of Highlevel. And I'm thinking, you know what, let me do that. Let me have some fun here. I've talked a lot about reputation management. I've got a reputation management snapshot that I offer people for free. But I figured let's have some fun today and really see if we can help some people out. And whether or not you want to start a Google review agency, maybe you might at some point. Maybe you might want to begin extending your services, or typically the term is called cross-selling between one customer, selling them your existing digital service, and now you want to sell them another one. So again, Google reviews is always a good one because it's something that you can offer that is, I guess relatively inexpensive for the customer. Again, just probably a few $100s a month. We're going to get into pricing. But it's something that they could afford, and it's something that they could take off their plate. And the great thing about this is that you can pretty much apply Google reviews to any business that's out there. I mean, any business that actually has something in Google services or Google business profile really could use some form of review management. But anyway, we're going to get into that here. I'm just looking to see if everybody's hopped on here. Let me see here. I've got a tech issue here. Give me just a second. Let me see if I could. Give me just a second. All these verifications. We're going to get there here. Hang in there with me. Awesome. Okay. So let's see here. Okay. Well, it looks like everything's good here. Just to make sure everything is working right, guys, can you, if you're a member, can again, I've got it set up for member only mode today. So if you guys can just leave me a message that you're seeing everything's looking good on here. So we got a couple of people on. Excellent. I don't see any of the members yet, but hey guys, anyway, the live views I make only available for communicating and chatting and asking questions. If you're an actual member of my channel, if you do go to the channel, there's a join button. It's a couple dollars a month if you want to hop on and actually sort of interact with these live presentations. But I'm going to move forward and assuming that everything is good here. So again, sorry for the text setup here. I had to do some verifications with Google, of course, but I really want to kind of go over step by step some of the things that you're going to need to do in order to set up your own Google review agency. Now, before I go any further here, I did recently just release a quick video on my YouTube channel regarding kind of something very similar, but I'm going to go into a little bit more detail here in this particular live than I did in that video. But one of the things I do want to offer you as a resource is the ability to use Highlevel's 5-day review challenge. That is a very good training. If you're looking for training, I mean, obviously, watching this live, watching some of the other reputation management videos I have on my YouTube channel, but hopping on and actually looking at the Highlevel 5-day training again, can also be very beneficial as well, because they're trying to help you understand what services you should sell, how to package them, how to price it. And the more knowledge you have, the better you're able to sort of bundle and understand some of the things we're going to be working on today. So we're going to go ahead and just move forward. Let me hop into my screen here. Hopefully we can see this. Let me see if I can move this over a little bit here. There we go. So right now I'm going to try to blow this up and move this over just so we could see it. I know my video's in the way here, but how to start a Google review agency. Now, this is not an absolute step-by-step guide. I didn't try to create this. I kind of threw this together just as these are the things that you need to sit back and understand when you're creating a review business and you want to start your own agency. How can you start an agency, grow it, and begin scaling it to the point where you can get multiple customers even per day, signing up and getting them onboarded, getting them ready to go. And eventually, hopefully, you'll get to a point where you're not doing this yourself. If you're at that level where you're just coming into high level and you want to get started and maybe build a business like this to replace your 9-to-5 income, by the way, good for you. Now, if you are looking to, again, do that, try to get as much education, get the review, go to the high level review challenge. I've got a link in this video, so please take advantage of these resources. And I always recommend that you do that, as much as you can before you start your 30-day trial. By the way, if you are looking to get signed up for high level and even do this type of thing, I do have a 30-day free trial link in the description below. Again, it gives you 30 days to kind of get started here. So right now, again, this is meant to be just sort of an overall thinking plan, not necessarily a detailed step-by-step. This is an exact blueprint of what you need to kind of get started here. So I just want to throw that out there. But ultimately, when you're looking to get this thing set up, you need to just make a decision. Okay, this is something that I want to do. Okay, I have enough information. Hopefully by the time you look at this live and maybe go through some of the training, you're like, okay, I understand what high level is, at least in the terms of what services it can offer to small businesses in regards to Google reviews, how I can do that, how I can build it. Maybe use my my free reputation management snapshot, maybe take some things from there that we're going to talk about here, and then utilize some other resources if high level gives them to you, or just other people. By all means, I'm not the end all be all with regards to high level. I'm just one of your assets, and hopefully a good one for you. But anyway, decide to start. Okay, and when you get started here, one of the things that you're going to need to do is specifically talk about what services you need to offer. Believe it or not, this is one of the hardest things for people to sit back and do. Now, when I talk about what services you want to offer, I know we're talking about Google review services. Okay, perfect. But there are other things inside of the Google review services that you may or may not want to offer, and I'm going to get into that when we start looking at the high level and start getting into some of the demo stuff. Okay, but again, talk about what services. What do you want to offer? You don't necessarily have to offer 3 plans. I know that this is something that high level comes up with, especially if you're looking at the Agency Pro. The SaaS configurator comes with 3 plans by default, sort of like a standard, a pro, and a premium, something like that. But you do not have to offer 3 plans to people. As a matter of fact, I think the more plans you offer, the more confusing it is to the particular client. Like, which one should I choose? Now, if you're really looking to sit back and start your Google review agency, I would just recommend just starting out with one. Have one plan. Like, this is the service that we provide, and this is the cost that we provide it at. So, and then once you start building that, or once you start getting some experience with customers, then you might want to start extending the plan to include maybe even other high-level services. But we're going to be going over some of the things that are really meant inside of high level to get configured in order to do sort of what it takes to build that Google review agency, some of the components of that. Now, once you do that, you do need to create a pricing structure. Okay. Now, when you create then you're allowed to have 3 sub-accounts inside of the sort of starter plan. But again, the starter plan is meant to be inexpensive. It's only $97 a month to kind of get started. One customer can easily pay for that. But a lot of things that you have to do inside of this system is manual. and it's made that way by default. Billing is manual. Getting paid every month is manual. Things like that, you're going to have to sit back and do on a manual basis. Billing people for particular services, and I'm going to get into what those services are when we start looking at doing the demos and things like that, but there are additional costs to you for usage. Like inside of Highlevel, if you're not familiar, it costs money to send and receive phone calls, to send and receive text messages, to send and receive emails. These things cost money. And that's just it. If you want to use the AI system for this, and I'm going to be talking about the review AI specifically in this particular presentation, but if you're looking at doing that, then these things cost additional money. And these are things that you're going to also have to either, number one, incorporate as part of your plan. So you're going to have to price your plan large enough to incorporate some of these fees. And again, we'll talk about these. Number two, actually bill these fees separately. Okay? Now, this is again the $97 plan and even the $297 plan, the unlimited plan. Again, unlimited means you get unlimited sub-accounts, but you do get some automation with regards to billing, but you don't get the ability to do what they call rebilling. Okay, rebilling is the ability, and I've done some videos over this if you watched it. I actually have a rebilling calculator out there on my channel if you're interested, but how much money you can make by sort of upcharging your customers for the usages inside of Highlevel. For instance, typically, just as a good rule of thumb, Highlevel charges you 67 cents for every 1,000 emails that you send out. So again, if you look at sending out emails and doing email campaigns, sending 1,000 emails doesn't cost a whole lot. Okay, but what if I told you that if you had the Agency Pro plan, that's the $497 plan, that you can actually rebill, meaning you can actually mark up the services that you charge to your customers and charge them more for the same services that Highlevel is charging you. So again, Highlevel charges you, in this case, 67 cents. You can 3, or even I think they let you go up to 10 times that for fees if you want to for your clients. So instead of 67 cents, if you double that, what's that, like $1.34? So you can charge your customer, your client, $1.34 for sending out 1,000 emails, okay, which still isn't awful, but now you make 67 cents off of every 1,000 emails that they send, and that's every customer that you have. So those 67 cents, I know that's a small number, but those things add up. So these are the things that I'm saying. It really depends upon the plan and the pricing, and I always have to recommend to people, try to get to Agency Pro as soon as possible, because there are some things there regarding, it's called the SaaS configurator, that really make a lot of this simplified, automates a lot of the process, and eliminates the manual process that you have to go through inside of Highlevel. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit more when we get into the future steps here. But like I said, this is going to be kind of fun. There is a lot of stuff in here, guys, but again, these are things that you don't have to deal with right now. You can deal with sort of the manual process and then move your way up to the automated process as you begin making more money. So hopefully that makes sense. All right, let's take a look here. Go. Just making sure, I was just checking to make sure we didn't have any particular questions here. Alrighty, so creating your pricing structure, and what are you looking to price it? And that's going to be depending upon, number one, what you're going to be including in those particular prices, like I just talked about here. If you're going to be like, okay, I'm going to charge you just a base subscription, and then you're going to pay extra for these services, well then now you could price it one way. If you want to include some of these emails, like even up to a certain number of emails, or in a sense, this is one of the cool things that you can do with the SaaS configurator once you get to the Agency Pro level, is you can actually give them a credit every month that's automatically deducted from their billing. So what you can do is you can have a plan in the SaaS configurator, create a plan that you're going to charge people and say, I'm going to give you $10 per month credit for usage, for whatever usage you want to use inside of Highlevel. So again, at 67 cents per email, or in this case, if you're marking it up to $1.34, how many thousands of emails could you send out before you actually start being charged? And some of your customers, depending on how many services or how many emails and things like that, and depending upon your campaign that we're going to talk about when we get to marketing, how many emails are you sending out? You may not even go beyond the $10 a month that you actually are giving them as a credit, in which case you can incorporate that $10 as sort of a loss, or mark your plan up for $10, whatever it is, that's just something that you have to incorporate into what it is that you want to build with Highlevel. But again, just to kind of give you a heads up, dealing with review management, these services are really somewhere going to be, I know we talked about pricing here, but you can easily charge 150 like on low end, like super low end, like 150 for base services, even up to $300 plus depending upon what you're doing and how you want to automate this. And if you, again, there's several components of this that I'm going to bring up that you're going to have to consider as you start onboarding and depending on the type of business that you're dealing with, okay? Because I know everybody's business is different. And I'm going to go into that here when we get into the high level demo. I'm just trying to go over some of the steps here. So once you actually determine what you want to do for them, the services you want to offer, basically you're going to build all that stuff out. And what that's going to consist of, it's going to consist of maybe some funnels. It's going to consist of automations, workflows, things like that, email templates that you're going to be sending out to people. It can be consisting of review AI settings for your reviews, if you want to incorporate those into there. But all of these things basically get put into your snapshot. And then once you have a snapshot, now you have a repeatable, easy system that can help you do the onboarding. So again, onboarding, if you've never heard that term, regards to whenever you get a client and they do sign up, then what do you actually, how do you begin setting their account up? How do you do that? How do you begin getting their account set up and then customizing that account specifically for them? So that right there is a part of the onboarding process, and that's something that you're going to have to build regardless. But the snapshot can be very easy because it can take all of those components that I just mentioned that really are the core heart of the Google review system and just simply deploy that to the new accounts as they get created. So all the stuff they already need is there. All you have to do is maybe go in and change a few custom values, maybe like what the business name is, the path to the business logo, something like that. And then all the other things, the email templates and everything else get completely customized based upon the snapshot that you build. Now, again, if you're looking for it, I do have my review snapshot. You know what? I'm sorry, I don't believe I have that in the video yet. I will try to follow up after the video here and put that in there where you can get the snapshots at. But if you already are a member of my SaaS Jumpstart training course, which the link for that is in the description, once you do that, you do get access to all of my snapshots, including the reputation management. So anyway, that would be a quick way, is just to look for the link for the SaaS Jumpstart training course, and you can hop in there and take all my courses that I have in there for free. I have a lot of good stuff in there, specifically a 30-day action plan that goes over how to get your account set up once you actually start doing Highlevel, because this is building a Google review agency. I'm only talking about that. I'm not talking about setting up Highlevel, okay? There are other things inside of here that I do want to let you know of that you're going to need to do. If you're fresh, if you're new, if you've never set up Highlevel, you're going to have to sit back and actually get your agency level set up. You're going to have to get your sub account set up. And then once you get your sub account set up, then you're going to have to start doing some of the things I'm talking about here. But there is some additional setup. I just didn't want to cover that in this particular video. So again, creating an onboarding process. And then ultimately what I'd love to be able to see people do is start building automation in here, creating a funnel where you can actually, you can start doing in your marketing. I know I'm kind of jumping ahead, but if you ever wanted to do ads, if you ever wanted to sit back and if you're marketing to people, you can send people directly to your funnel, and the funnel might have an explainer video on it. It might have some text, just explaining the benefit of why they would want to sign up for your service, with big buttons all over the place saying sign up here, start here. I don't know if you want to offer a free trial. That's going to be completely up to you whether or not you do that. But again, if you do want to offer a free trial, this is where it gets a little bit more challenging if you're on the starter and the unlimited plan, because those things are like manual billing process and you have to manually do things. If you're on the agency pro level and you are in the SaaS configurator, you can program the SaaS configurator to give them a 14-day or 7-day or 3-day, whatever it is, free trial, so that they can see how the review system works, see that they're starting to get reviews before they actually maybe start making a payment. But again, you're going to have to manage that on a manual process on the 97 and unlimited plans, because there's no automation on those levels. So when I say automation, here's what I mean. Excuse me. What I mean is having the ability to sit back and automatically have an account created. When somebody signs up on your funnel, they go there, they order something, they fill out the order form, they put in their credit card, they're like, yes, I want to buy this, get this to me now. Okay? Whenever they do that, one of the things that you're going to have to do, at least at the 97 and Unlimited plan, is all that funnel will do is simply notify you that a sale has been done. At that particular point, then you need to have a process that says, okay, I had a sale on my website. What do I need to do? I need to now contact them, get their information. I need to manually create that sub account. I need to go in, put their information in, manually create the sub account. I'm going to have an onboarding call, get that scheduled. And you can do all the onboarding call setup and all the calendaring and things like that in the same funnel that you're selling. I mean, don't get me wrong, you could do all of that. But at the 97 and 297 level, you have to manually create those accounts. Whereas at the Agency Pro level, that account automatically gets created for you, and the person can have immediate access to that account right away. So that is one advantage. Now, again, some of the other advantages, what I talked about, the ability to use snapshots, the ability to do trials, the ability to do all these other kinds of cool things and have that automatically done, is only at the Agency Pro level. So hopefully by time, if you're at the starter plan, you get a couple of clients, you should be making enough money at that level to purchase the 497 plan and then move forward with that one, because there is a conversion. This is why I try to recommend that people go directly to the Agency Pro. Not that it's just the most expensive. I know a lot of people think about that, but it's because you have to convert some accounts from, I'll call it, they used to call it regular accounts. I don't think they call that anymore. I just think it's a non-SaaS account. So if you migrate from 97 or the Unlimited plan up to Agency Pro, all the accounts that you have, you're going to need, if they're on a monthly billing plan, you don't want to do this to your agency account, but to all of your clients, you'll need to upgrade them and put them onto a SaaS plan in order to get the billing and all the other stuff that been talking about here. But the automation piece, this is when you're building the funnel and now you have to manually create that piece. That part is where it just kind of sucks, because now that's additional steps that your team needs to do to get the account even created and things like that. So I'll just leave it at that there is some automation that you can have there. Sorry, just checking for questions. But anyway, that's really it. Now, one of the things I do want to sit back and just caution people on here, because I get this a lot and I want to make sure that people understand about this. Google review gating, okay? Caution, okay? A lot of people talk about this. I get a lot of comments about this, specifically on my reputation management videos. They're like, well, what I'm dealing with is review gating on those. And to be honest, I mean, they're right. On that one here, I'm gonna be upfront, but review gating can be, and what I mean by review gating here, forgive me, I'm moving forward like you understand that. You cannot ask people for like thumbs up or thumbs down. Okay, here's the typical process. Some people say, okay, let me give you a thumbs up or thumbs down. Would you leave us a review? If somebody answered yes, then great, you send them the Google review. If they say no, or they're not happy with your service, then what you would end up doing is sending them like a feedback form. So what you're doing right there is called review gating. You're not giving the people who use your service the ability to sit back and leave you a Google review. You're only giving them that option if they say, yes, I'm going to leave you a great review. So you can't do that. That's something that just please be careful about this, because if you do get caught doing review gating, again, I know you're providing services to your client, but if your client gets caught review gating, Google can shut their whole Google business profile down and delete it. And then all of their reviews, all their information, everything like that gets shut down and turned off. I mean, that's an extreme case, but yes, they might give them a warning initially, but just be careful about that. Now, how can you get around review gating? Well, this is where I'm not an attorney here, but I have read on Google's forums a lot of people talking about review gating and things like that. Getting feedback from a bad review is not necessarily a review gating. You just have to make sure that you offer the people for that option the same option of being able to leave them a Google review. So again, whenever you're building your system out here, if you sit back and say, okay, would you get, how was your, let's just say, I think in one of my videos, I kind of have a funnel where it's like you've got a happy face, a neutral face, and then a sad face kind of thing. And it's like a funnel page where it's like, please rate your experience here. If you're happy, then great. Send you and communicate with you and send you a Google review because you had great service. We're going to send you that way. If it's neutral or if it's bad, then let's send you to a page where there's a feedback form where we can get feedback from you. Okay, that right there is review gating. Now, since then, I've actually updated that snapshot to include the ability to have a Google review link on that same feedback form. So the feedback form doesn't necessarily, again, have to be bad. You just need to make sure that you offer the people the ability to leave a Google review, as well as being able to submit a feedback form. So getting feedback from bad service is not bad. You just don't want to eliminate the possibility of them being able to leave you a bad review, because again, that leads to what they call review gating. So that's a big thing when it comes to this Google review agencies. Now, to get around this, some people don't even deal with the thumbs up, thumbs down, the faces. They don't even deal with that at all. If you really just want to have run a straight agency, don't do that. You don't have those particular systems in place. Don't have any star ratings where you just say, rate me. If you had to rate our service, what star rating would you give us? And then they click 5-star rating. And that's great. You could do something like this even inside of Highlevel on a survey. But then once they click 5 stars, then they're going to sit back and leave you a good review. Then after that, you would say, great, thank you so much for that. Would you mind leaving us a Google review? Again, that's a form of review gating. If somebody leaves you a 2-star review, then you'll probably go and want to collect some additional data. So how to avoid all this? Just simply create an email template that just says, please click here to leave us a review with a click here to leave a review button. Okay, that's really about as simple as it gets, to simply send an email out saying, thank you very much for your services. It would be very helpful for us to to get a review from you so that we can show other clients the value of our services. Can you please take a few minutes and rate us on this? Something like that. But all it is just like, click here to leave us a review. You're not asking if the review is good or bad. You're going to have to deal with that later. Now, I'm going to show you some tools inside of Highlevel that you can do in order to overcome that. So, just wanted to let you know. Now, I kind of covered review gating here. Like I said, we're having a little bit of fun to just go through a lot of this stuff. Hopefully, you guys find this valuable here. Let me make sure we're good with cool. Okay, just making sure we're good with everybody. No questions here so far. Now, getting your marketing set up here. Okay, I've already talked about Highlevel services, plans, create that, what features you want to turn on, things like that. Because again, keep in mind, if you're setting up review services, Google review services, typically the client is never going to be logging in to your Highlevel plan at this point. The only thing that they may end up be doing is logging into the mobile app to see some of the review settings and things like that inside the mobile app. Sometimes if they do log into the account, some people, you might have an office worker that might want to log into your Highlevel account, into their sub account. Keep in mind that you want to restrict their security so that they don't have access to other parts of Highlevel that they are not paying for. So if you're not going to give them, again, like websites or funnels, if that's something that you're just not going to offer them for that, or a website chat widget or things like that, turn all those features off. Okay, that should be a part of your onboarding process. Now, if you've got, again, Agency Pro, this is another advantage. And I always try to bring up advantages when it comes to Agency Pro, is that once inside of each plan inside of Highlevel, at the SaaS configurator level, you could say, here are the features that I want to turn on. Like, here are the features that I want to be able to offer people on this particular plan. The SaaS configurator will then turn all of those other features off automatically when they're creating the account. So this is what you're getting when you're paying for the additional $200 a month. This is what you get. All of this levels of automation, and believe me, for a couple of $100 extra per month from Unlimited, it's really a no-brainer for everything that you get, especially the rebilling. You can easily make a couple $100 a month, if not thousands. Look at my rebilling calculator that I have on my YouTube channel. It shows you how much money you can make by rebilling if you're at the Agency Pro level. So moving on to marketing. So right now, to get into marketing, Great. So let's just say your high level is set up, your funnel is set up, all of your processes, you've got your onboarding set up, you know what to do, you know you're going to set this thing up, and everything's ready to go. Okay. Now, how do you start getting clients? That's just no different than any other type of business model. You're going to have to get a list of businesses that you want to market to. Now, the great thing about Google reviews is that you're going to sit back with Google reviews. You're going to be, that type of business is available or necessary for any business that's really out there. But there are some businesses where Google reviews are better, are easier to get than others. Now, let me help you understand that. The more customers a business gets, has, or services, the more Google review possibilities that you actually have. Now, I'm going to give you sort of two different scenarios here, okay? One of which I'm going to give you a service base, and I'm just going to use HVAC. Let's just say you have a HVAC, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, so heating and cooling company. So these people get very busy. Obviously, when summertime comes, it gets hot. The AC units, if they don't work, don't cool properly, need to be cleaned. They go out and service the customers. And same way in the wintertime with the furnace and the heat or the heat pumps or whatever you use in your area. But HVAC companies service a lot of people. Typically, each technician might have somewhere between 5 to even 10 jobs per day, depending on how fast the job is, to do every single day. That's 5 or 10 customers per technician per day. Now, if it's just a one-stop shop, and the owner's doing it, then let's just assume, even on the low end, that's 5 people per day. 5 calls per day, that's 25 potential people per week, 100 per month, that now you can set out and look to get more Google reviews. Okay, that's a lot of reviews. I mean, you can just simply do those numbers and just say, hey, I can get you a lot of reviews, 20, 30, 50 or more reviews from your customers, assuming you do good work per month. Now let me switch gears and do a different business. Let's deal with the real estate agent. Do you think a real estate agent is doing 50 or 100 different, 5 people per day, servicing 5 people per day? Maybe. I mean, some of the top real estate agents are. And inside of there, you might want to sit back and for these top agents, but for regular agents, I mean, they might have a couple of closings a month. Let's just say that they have 10 closings a month, okay, which is probably pretty good. 10 closings consistently every single month. Then that means they have 10 customers that they can get Google reviews from. Well, the thing about the differences between the two businesses I just talked about here is the time involved. Let me help you understand that. With HVAC, it is, you're dealing with stuff on an hourly basis, meaning, technicians, you have to get in, you have to get out, get in, get service, because, your hourly rate is billable. Okay, you need to make more money, and time is important to you. With a real estate agent, the time is not necessarily as important. It's the transaction that's more important. So hopefully that makes sense. So if you're a real estate agent, most of the time you're going to be dealing with your customer. Most of the time you're going to be there at the closing table. If you've ever bought a house or sold a house or something like that, then the agent is going to be there with you to help you sign paperwork. Congratulations, maybe have a gift, maybe have some other things. They can simply ask for the Google review right there on the spot because they're already building rapport. It's a happy moment, things like that. So of course people can pull out their phone. The agent can have like a little QR code or something like that. But my point about it is real estate agents can handle themselves 10 reviews per month, especially in their business because they're right alongside of their customers. So the Google review business for a real estate agent may not be as valuable as one for an HVAC customer or a construction company or other companies that have and service a lot of clients. Hopefully that makes sense. And I really want to tell you this because choosing the business niche is going to be very important. Typically, I would recommend finding clients that have a lot of customers that they service. Again, service-based businesses. Any service-based business can do this. Now, what do I mean by that? I've already talked about HVAC, electrician, plumber, pest control, car detailing, landscaper, massage therapists. You start dealing with nail salons, just anything like that, hair salons. I mean, people that deal with a lot of customers every day. Because if you go looking and you go to a nail salon or a spa, they could get 20 to 50 customers per day coming through there, depending on the number of people that you have. That's a lot of potential Google reviews that you can get every month. So again, when you're looking to get the list of businesses, pick a business that has a high customer count, okay? Because the more customers they have, and then more specifically, I'm going to talk about this when we look at the services, is the more customers that they have in their database, the more you could potentially pull that customer list and ask for referrals from businesses that have already been, for services that have already been offered. So they're past customers and things like that. You can go back and actually ask for reviews from them, even though the service has been in the past. So now, where do you get this? I do have videos on my channel that goes over how to get free leads or how to get leads from Google Maps. If you want to go to Google Maps and actually search for local businesses, once you pick a particular business, you can go and scrape Google Maps and pull the information off there. You can do things like, there's a lot of different list providers out there. You can just simply pull a list if you want to spend a little bit of money. You can potentially get tens of thousands of leads, in a month for maybe $100, $200. And now you've got potentially some of these, I'm going to say 10, 20,000 leads. You can work on that lead for easily weeks to maybe months, depending on how much you want to start emailing these people initially. Because keep in mind, depending upon when you start doing your email campaigns and start contacting people, the more response rate that you get, you don't want to necessarily be sending out like 1,000 emails a day, okay? Because obviously, if a percentage of those people responded, you couldn't handle the amount of calls that you would get from there. So you're going to have to gauge, you might send out 20 emails a day, 50 emails a day, you know what I mean? And gauge it, keep going up depending upon the response rate that you get from your emails and things like that. And even, again, just because you have an email campaign doesn't mean that you're even going to talk to somebody before they buy. Okay, I know that sounds kind of strange, but if you're emailing people and your emails are very powerful and they express your services and the pain points that these services can help you with by eliminating potentially, hours of employees' times per day by asking for Google reviews or providing automated mechanisms, which is really what you're doing here with this when you're setting up this kind of Google review agency. You're setting up that level of automation that's going to be removing hours of time and follow-up from them, as well as providing value of getting more Google reviews, which in turn, if you really think about it, more reviews means more customers. That's what it ultimately ends up meaning when it comes to Google. So that's, again, just a selling point that you can have for them is the time that's involved with that they don't have to deal with any of this. Okay, so again, I don't know what extent you really want to be involved. Do you just want to email and kind of look for there? Do you want to start cold calling people, like actually getting people on the phone and just saying, hey, this is something that I noticed you need. I looked at your online profile. You've been in business for 10 years, but you only have 20 Google reviews and your rating is only 4.5 or something like that. So right now, there's another business. I don't know if you're aware, they just started, they've got 200 reviews. And right now, that's hurting your business because when they start searching in your area and they see these people with 200 reviews and they see you with 20, who do you think they're going to call first? Or at least who they're going to try to contact first? The one with 200 reviews. You know what I mean? It's almost like I kind of use that example sometimes where it's like, if your kid is sick and you're searching for a local the ped doctor for this, and then you see one that has 400 reviews and another one that has 5, who are you going to call first? If your kid is sick and you got 400 with a 4.8 review or some kind of craziness like that, you're not even going to look at the doctor that has 5. You're going to you want the best for your kid because your kid's sick. So that's the one that you're going to end up picking, or at least contact them first. And then if you don't hear from them, then you might go down and actually give you a call, but by then you've already lost that particular customer. Now, again, the whole point about this is that argument can, again, go down a little bit of a rabbit hole where you start talking about customer lifetime value. And it's like, hey, if you lose a customer, what is that customer worth to you? Now, ultimately, if you're dealing with a particular niche, like I know, just as an example, it's sort of an average for HVAC, the average customer lifetime value for them is around $2,000 per person, somewhere in that ballpark. So every new customer that they end up not getting by not answering the phone call or not getting the initial call because their reviews aren't high enough, is $2,000, throughout the life of their business that they're potentially missing. So that's money just being wiped down the toilet, forgive me, because they're just not set up right. So anyway, for your marketing, whether you want to cold call people, talk to people, if you're a real people person, sometimes people don't like cold calling because that's really kind of uncomfortable. People get rejection. But it's like, if you're good with people and you have a strong argument and you can overcome objections, then cold calling is a great way to talk to people so they can just understand what your services are. But again, if you create an email campaign that says, hey, let me show you a demo of what my services can do. Demos are also very powerful if you have a funnel page. Get an explainer video or something like that put up on your main site. It's like, hey, if this is your business, most businesses struggle with review management because of this, and it goes through the process. Here's what we do. We automate this. We eliminate this from your business and automate this so that you get the reviews without wasting all the time and follow-up of having to do this. So once they see that, and again, they could watch the video without ever calling or contacting you. And on your funnel page, if you're like, if you want this service, try our service for free for 7 days, or if you want to offer it, or, just here, purchase our services below, they can just simply go buy the services, sign up on your site, and boom. Now you've got a customer and you haven't even talked to them because your funnel page and your automation does the entire process. So anyway, that's sort of the high level setup here. And I don't have any questions, but I typically ask right now. If they did have questions, what would you end up asking? So, all right. So right now, those are just the type of services and thought process that would go into how to actually set up a Google review agency. Now, before we move on to some of the demo, I do want to sit back and at least tell you there are resources in my SaaS Jumpstart program that will help you specifically, even if you already have your account set up, maybe you're struggling with getting things set up or even struggling with coming up with what services to get. Take a look at the 30-day action plan course that I have inside there. It did take me a little while to build that, but this right here is a step-by-step of how to get your account set up, how to get your sub-account set up to start doing business to right here, to this E-value here. And that right there will get all of those things set up and help you build all of that. If you already have high level, if not, you can just simply look at the training if you haven't, just to kind of get an idea before you even get the 30-day plan, what's available and what type of services you can offer and things like that. So I just want to make sure you understand that resource is available to you for free. Just sign up and that's all it is. So, all right, so now let's hop into high level and start looking at some of these pieces. Now, what are the pieces inside of high level? Again, high level is huge. It has hundreds and hundreds of features. But we're not going to even use a very small percentage of that very minuscule part of it to do the Google Review Agency portion. Okay. Now, I'm going to go over some of the parts here, and I do want to follow back up with some of the issues that can happen to you when you actually onboard a particular customer, depending upon the type of customers you choose. So hold that thought here. I'm going to come back to that. But here are the pieces that you're going to be dealing with inside of high level when you're setting this up. Number one is the automations. So here, if you take a look at here, this is a demo account, by the way. So I've dumped a lot of stuff in here and I've used this for some of my other demos, but here there is a Google review folder. So if we open this up, this right here would be like, okay, the email campaigns or the email sequence that you're going to be using to request and again, this is to the customer. Okay. Just to be clear, there are two email sequences that I talked about here when it comes to this particular plan. One of which here, when you're setting up high level, sending an email out requesting a review, that's one campaign and one automation. A different automation is regarding this one right here. For your marketing setup, when you're creating an email to send out, that is your sub account. Okay, not your client's account. This is your sub account setting up email templates on how to set, what are the benefits of using your services? What are the benefits of getting more Google reviews? Okay, those are the email templates and the email campaign that you're going to be sending out. And I'm not going to be covering this part here in this particular video. If you're interested, if you're really bad at doing copy, then just simply use an AI tool to help you out with this. Okay, ChatGPT is really great. Give it a context, let them know it's like, hey, I'm trying to open up a new business where I help small businesses get more Google reviews, and I'm using the GoHighLevel platform, software platform to do so. Help me create a 10, 15, 20, whatever email sequence I can send out to businesses to help them understand the value of getting more Google reviews, blah, 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 and just follow that kind of a prompt. Give it some context, and then it can spit out an email sequence that would be at least a good basis, a good starting for you to sit back and start doing your marketing. Okay. Now for here in this demonstration purposes, I'm really focusing on this area up in here with getting Highlevel set up. Okay. Just to kind of give you an idea here. So we're clear. So these Google reviews right here, this is the type of email sequence that you would end up sending out depending upon how you want to set up your business. Okay. Now, if it's, let me take a look here. I'm not exactly sure what this Google review request is. Okay, so here we go. So this right here is one where we've got a trigger. Oh, so let's just say this is one where if we already have the contact inside of the CRM, I'm sorry, contact inside the CRM. I said that right. And now we just simply put a tag review request. So we just, we could have a customer, we go through and add a tag to them. And then once we add the tag, then that puts them into this automation sequence that then we'll sit back and ask them for a Google review. Okay. So this right here is another sequence that you can do. Now this one actually uses SMS, it's sending out like an SMS message. And this goes back to sort of like, how would you rate us? Would you give us feedback regarding this experience with us? Rating on a 1 to 5. You can definitely do that. Again, we talked about review gating. I talked about that a lot. Again, please consider an attorney because I am not one. Don't take legal advice from me. That's my disclaimer. Okay. I'm not an expert on this. Contact an attorney. But again, the whole point is to just make sure that you offer people to leave a review. And you can also ask for feedback. If you've got bad service, what happened, you'd love to be able to correct it. And again, if somebody does leave you a bad review, if you can, you will get that bad review inside of Highlevel. You can then reach out to somebody and try to correct that, and see if they can either remove their review or update it or whatever, if you can resolve that particular issue. But it would be great to know beforehand. So one of the other things about this, by the way, is I didn't really cover this in the setup, but right now when you're dealing with the onboarding setting, this right here is where a lot of people talk about, do I need to get A2P registration? Okay, so I'm going to take a minute and sit back and cover that. Now this is going to be a little bit of a longer one because I told you, having a lot of fun. There are a lot of pieces to this, but I want to make sure I at least make them available to you and whether or not you want to use them or not. Now, do you need A2P registration to do a Google review system, to build a Google review agency? No. No, 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 you don't. Okay? You do need to get A2P registration if you want to be able to send out text messages to ask for a review via text message. Yes, you do need to have A2P registration to do that. If you want to keep all of your Google reviews down to just simply emailing people, then at that particular point, you do not need to have A2P registration. You don't need to have a phone number. Again, the phone number is another expense. It's like $1 or $2 or something like that per month, per number. So you don't need to deal with that. You don't need to deal with any of that, if you're not going to be sending out text messages. But if you do want to text people and send text messages out and use the text template that the review system has, then yes, you will need, as part of your onboarding process, you will need to go through A2P registration. Highlevel has been making a lot of changes with that. A2P was difficult, and now apparently, I haven't been through it lately, but I did hear from Sean that they have changed that process, and now they're back up to like a 90% approval rating, like for first timers going through the A2P registration. So anyway, that right there, you can get that done, but you'll have to incorporate that cost in there because there's text messaging costs and things like that. That goes back to the pricing plan structure. If you're going to incorporating that and that's a part of how you want to build your Google review system, then you're going to have to incorporate A2P. But this one right here, if you take a look here, this is one where you would just simply have a customer, and let's just say the customer, in this example right here, the customer is actually inside of Highlevel, meaning that your customer or your client is using Highlevel's CRM system for their main contact system. Okay, I'm going to also talk about what happens if they don't. If they don't use that, if they have their own separate system for that, because that is the case in some instances. But let's just say that the contact record and the customers are maintained within Highlevel. Then right here under the contact tag, this is where you'd want to sit back and just simply go into the CRM system, to the contacts area, click on them, add a tag for review request. That adds them into this campaign. It sends them a text message, and then at that particular point, it flows throughout your entire message. It goes down through your workflow. This is where it sends a text. Then it waits. Let's see, it waits for a response from the text message. It times out after a day. So here, there's a condition where if they replied 1, 2, or 3, meaning 1, 2, or 3 stars, something like that, then they go down one branch. If they replied 4 or 5 to the service, then they go down a different branch. So this again is a way to differentiate these people if you want to go down that route. If you don't want to go down that route, then just simply have one email that's very well formatted that just says, hey, you might have an initial email that gets sent out that just says, hey, we'll build one real quick here. But one email that goes out that says, hey, please leave us a review. Click here for the review button. And then you might have another follow-up email if you don't get something from them, in the next day or even 2 days. Then how do you follow up with a secondary email? So, but again, this is just one workflow that you can have. And again, when you build this out, this is your thought process. This is the part here. It's once you build out what you want to provide for them, now you need to build out how you're going to accomplish that inside of Highlevel. Sometimes this could be a challenge to people, and yes, I'm just saying, if you don't have things like my reputation management snapshot that can give you some base workflows, you're going to have to build these from scratch. You are. If you're not good at it, you're going to have somebody hire you. You're going to have to hire them to help you. You're going to have to explain to them what you want to do and how your process is going to work. Unfortunately, it's your business. You're going to have to understand how the business process works. So, and again, let me just talk about that right now before I forget, because that is important, and I've not followed up with this in the past. When you have clients, if the client's contacts are inside of Highlevel, then perfect. You don't have a problem at all. You can tag them. You can put them in a workflow. There's lots of cool things that you can do for them because they're already in Highlevel. Now, if they're not in Highlevel, then here's where there's some automation, some third-party stuff, or even some manual work that has to be done. Let's just say that you're dealing with an HVAC person. We've already kind of talked about that. Well, the HVAC person may be using something like QuickBooks. Okay, they might be using QuickBooks to do for their new customers, their billing, and I don't know about their scheduling. They might have another thing for their scheduling, but they might build their entire business around QuickBooks, where the customer and the contact record is inside of the QuickBooks account. Well, if that's the case, Highlevel does have a QuickBooks integration for that, so you may be able to pull that contact record in, but let's just assume that there is no connectivity between, in this kind of case, the third-party system like QuickBooks and Highlevel. Well, then at that particular point, somebody's going to have to manually create that record inside of the CRM system and then manually tag that person in order to send out the review request. Okay? Now, here's where another possibility comes in. I'm not going to name names because I'm not really, I haven't really tried some of these other services out, but there are connectors. If you look in the marketplace for Highlevel, that can synchronize contacts between third-party systems and Highlevel. Now, what does this mean? What I mean is, in this kind of case, QuickBooks or another third-party system, if it's a popular piece of software that allows kind of sharing of data, then you could take information and synchronize data from that's in their system over to Highlevel, even just using a one-way sync. So when they get a new customer, let's just say inside of QuickBooks, then that new customer is automatically synchronized over inside of the Highlevel account. And then what happens is that now you don't have to manually create the record. The record's already there. You can just simply tag them or something like that if you want this. You can even get a little bit more complicated if you want to do this. And I know there are other people out there that do have Google review agencies that have gone to this level of automation. And again, when I say this level of automation, this is where you can actually have maybe another plan where now you're charging another $100 or more per month to get this level of automation. Now, what I mean by that is, let's just say in QuickBooks, you go through and the job is done and somebody just got an invoice and the invoice just got paid. So typically when you go out and you're an HVAC company, you want to get paid while you're there. You get done, you do the invoice, the invoice can be done. Most of the HVAC people have tablets now, or phones where they can do the invoice. They can tap the card on the back of their phone, get payment or something like that. And they can do all that stuff right from their phone or the tablet while they're out there with the customer. But once they do that, and once the invoice has been paid, then you can have saying, okay, once an invoice has been paid, then what I want you to do is go for that contact record. Now come over and into Highlevel and tag that person as review request. So that level of automation here, you can do things like that through things like Zapier or Make, or there's again some other connectors inside the marketplace that can do those type of things as well. Look at those, but if you want to get that level of automation where now there's truly nothing that person needs to do, not even a manual process. So as soon as you get invoice and billing, that sends a message over, it tags a person inside of Highlevel. Once they get tagged, then you just saw the workflow that gets kicked off and they can begin flowing the email sequence again, automation, automation, automation. So that kind of thing is possible. But again, that right there is where you might want to have a base plan where there's some manual action, and then an automated plan that might be $100 more and might require even a little bit of a setup fee, depending on what it is. So hopefully that helps you understand if the contacts are in Highlevel or not in Highlevel, how do you handle that? Perfect. So once you have your automations built, and right now I did say that I want to sit back and create one from scratch here. So depending on what your trigger is, it could be adding a tag, it could be anything like that. But let's just say in this kind of case, we do want to just keep it as a tag. So we'll just say contact tag, come here to filters, tag has been added. And then I've got a lot of things here, review request. So as soon as we tag them with that fires off this workflow. Here we're going to sit back and do like an email, send email from Ray O'Daniel. I'm not going to spell it right. I'm not going to worry about all this. ray@gmail.com. That's not a real address. Don't email me there because it will bounce. Subject, this is where, again, you put in your subject. Test from Ray. Or, actually, that's bad. Let's just do review request. Now, here's where you can simply, if you have a template, you can simply choose your template. There's several customer nurture. Let me see if I have, no, I don't have anything called review request here, but I'll just call it customer nurture 1. This is probably an email sequence I created about our services, but it can be just as simple as that. Save action, boom. This is the email that gets sent out initially, okay? So now that gets sent out, you wanna come in here and do a wait. And again, this is a very basic workflow that can handle 80% or at least of your basic services. So if you wanna click wait, you say wait, I don't know, 1 day, 2 days. So it's just simply gonna wait and hold the people there. So send an email out, wait 2 days, and then at that particular point, you can come here and email them again. So send an email, fill all this stuff out. Templates, we're gonna do customer nurture 2. That would be your follow-up email sequence. You would save that and so forth. So again, 1 email, wait, 2nd email, and if not, then you can maybe, again, you could create pipelines for this and keep people inside of pipelines if you really wanted to. But if they don't respond and they don't end up ultimately leaving a review, if they do get through the email sequence and then the email second one, then you could do something like have a follow-up, notify a team member that a review request wasn't received for this person. Now, how do you know if a review request wasn't received? Well, this is a whole other type of thing when you're building. I'm not going to save this, by the way. So this is where a lot of people, when they're building this, saying, great, how do I sit back and have a system where I can email people who haven't already left a review? I don't want to send a review request to somebody that's already left us a review. Okay, fair enough question. Now, depending upon where you get started with this, this may not be 100% possible, but here's what you can end up doing. There's really not, at least in my thought process, 100% way of doing this. Because right now the problem is that the customer could be using one email address with regards to the business that you're dealing with, your client. And they can also be using another secondary email address to do all their personal reviews. Like one could be a business email, the other one could be a personal email. So you're sending an email out to to their business email, which they're going to get. And then when they click on the link to leave a Google review, they're already logged into the Google browser as their personal Gmail account. And that email address and that name may not match a name that's in your contact record. You see what I mean? So it may be hard for you to connect the email address of the person leaving the review. But what you can do is this. When somebody actually, inside of your email templates here, go to marketing, what this really is going to be doing is dealing with something called a trigger link. Okay? This is a little trick here for you guys, but let me see if I have something in here already for this. Yeah, so right now, if you here's a Google review link, and there's no link here, but I'm creating a trigger link called Google review link. Okay, now if I come in here to my emails, come on emails, and I come here to templates. Let's just see. I'll just open up one of these email templates here. I'm just trying to give you guys an idea. So starting from scratch here, let's just say we're going to drop a button here, button text, write a review, easy enough, right? Now, what do you use for the call to action? What do you use down over here for the link in this area? Okay, you're going to use the trigger link in your email sequence. And you're going to click on this. You're going to go to, it might be here at the root, yeah, trigger links. And then in your trigger links, we're going to go and leave the Google review link. So now when they click this link, it's going to actually click a trigger link. Okay, let me scroll this back down, save this. So now whenever you send out that first email, okay, if they do click on the write a review link, typically if they're going to open up the email and they're going to click on the button, it's a fair course that they're going to end up leaving a review. So one of the things that's beneficial here is that now you can go back and have another automation, okay, that actually has a trigger of when they click this review link. So when they click the review link, then you could remove the review request tag and then add the review left tag or something like that. So you can change it, and then now you can automatically remove them from the other email sequence. So they don't get the second email if they already clicked on the first email's write a review link. Okay, that's how you can sort of automate that particular process at least a little bit as far as this goes. Now, I'm not sure if that's inside of my reputation management snapshot, so you might end up having to build that. But building this kind of thing is what is important with regards to building your snapshot, because once you have the snapshot and once you build this one time, you've got your snapshot account, which is typically going to be another sub account that you use to create this. You can always go in and update that and update the snapshots and update everybody's account. But once everything is there, it makes the onboarding process and the setup process so much easier. Okay. So right now I'm just checking. We don't have any particular questions. So right now you're going to be using automations to do all of that. Now, finally, what I want to do is come in here and just show you there have been some cool updates to the reputation review AI system. So again, recap. Up to this point, we kind of just talked about how to build your system. We looked at ultimately how to start sending things out. Emails, if you want to send out text messages, you'll send out text messages, but how to create a basic workflow that can send emails out, can handle trigger links when people click on stuff to leave a review, things like that. You can even have triggers, additional workflows if you wanted to, when people leave a review. Okay, there's actually, I believe, a trigger in there for review left. Then you could trigger it to do something else if that's what you want. Okay, so but when you're sitting back and looking at this right here is going to get you connected into your review AI system. But what I want to do is focus on the settings here. Now, besides reviews being left for Facebook and for Google, which are two of the default integrations that Highlevel's already had, one of the cool things that Highlevel is now moving into is actually over here on the left-hand side on this integrations. Now they've actually begun expanding this to start including reviews on other platforms. Okay, so you can actually start doing the review AI on other platforms and responding to those reviews. So again, they have a few here. Notice there's Airbnb, Amazon, and I'm not going to show you any of this. I just wanted to show you that these integrations are here. Now, one of the things I'm really surprised is that Yelp isn't on here. So that's another big review platform is Yelp. But anyway, if you want to add something to it, this is what's available, and I'm sure they're going to continue to add more and more to this. Okay, now over here, this is where reviews AI. This is where if you wanted to, I do have this inside of my reputation manager snapshot, is that you can sit back and actually use this template to send this template out when sending out SMS messages, or you can send out your own SMS message. Now, I have each one of those workflows and templates built inside of my snapshot, so you can take a look at it. But if you wanted to, you can build this completely out and have an image right here that is triggered off of a custom value, things like that. So those things can automatically be adjusted by adjusting the custom value. You can have a message. All these things can automatically be pre-built and inside of your snapshot. So here's the SMS one. If you want to have an email review, you can build out the email template for this, and here's where you can take a look at it here. But you can build all that stuff out here. One of the cool things I want to explain to you, though, is this new feature they built into the Reviews AI. Now, here's, I won't go over the settings here, but you can have this in auto responses mode, which means whenever you get a review, how do you actually respond to that review? Now, up to this point here, and this is not that long ago, we scroll down here, you see there are multiple review AI agents now that can run. Before, there was only one, meaning you can have one agent that responded a certain way to the review request, and a lot of people didn't like it because apparently that particular review request was not customizable. It would just leave a review automatically, and there's nothing you could do to change any of that stuff behind the scenes. You couldn't have a tone. You couldn't adjust the language that was used, make it playful or funny or professional or whatever else. It just gave you whatever was hard coded into the agent that Highlevel had programmed. Now, one of the cool things that they are able to do here is actually have multiple agents. Okay, and the cool thing about this is that if we take a look here, I'm going to blow this up a little bit. But this is a really cool, powerful tool that people have really been enjoying here, especially if you're building out a review management system. This is going to be pretty cool, so follow this. So right now, see that there are review types. So notice here that this is for all reviews, no matter what kind of rating there are. And notice here, I've actually, this little icon right here, I've disabled this one because this is sort of a legacy one, and I didn't want to have this in here. So you can disable agents. That's the cool thing as well. But notice this agent right here is for 2 stars and below. So if I do get a 2-star or below, which that was never available, it was always like so many stars and above on the original agent. So now I can do 2 stars or below. This agent activates. 4 stars and above, this one activates. All reviews, that one activates on all of them. 2 stars and below, 3 stars and above. Now, one of the things I hope you noticed here is that sometimes these agents can activate at the same time, but they really don't. Now, if you read the documentation for this, it's not very clear, so I had to get clarification from Highlevel regarding this, but let's just say we take this 4 stars and above, okay? Now, if somebody leaves a 3-star rating, this 3-star rating or above will activate, but so will this 4-star rating and above will activate. And so will this all reviews activate. So do you see what I mean? So you have 3 possible agents here that are all programmed differently. Like this one's programmed to be playful, and I'm going to show you the settings here. This one is to be optimistic, and this one right here is to be professional. Okay? So right now, you can have multiple agents configured using the same, I guess, parameters for star ratings. And what it does, it actually uses a round robin approach, meaning the first one that comes in, it'll, let's just say it's a 3-star rating, it will not match this one, but it will come down and fire this one. And then this one right here will get the next rating. Okay, so the next 3-star review comes in, this one, it'll move to the next agent. Now this is a cool way of not having your replies always be the same, kind of have the same tone. So you're kind of mixing up your tone, and you can mix up some other things. Let's take a look at the settings and let me show you what I mean by that. So here, if we take a look at the agent, and I really can't move this, I can try to blow it up some here. So the agent name, obviously, we can give it a name. Here's the cool thing, the agent instructions. Now you can put your own ChatGPT prompt information for the review and customize it to be your own. Okay, so this is where you can customize it. You can have ones in here that just say, only respond to good, you can have it respond for positive intent, neutral, or negative intent. All of that comes back to this prompt area right here that you have to prompt it. So all of this agent instructions, this is where you can customize it and program it. You can also come and put any of the tone, no tone, professional, funny. Again, you can select a maximum of 2 tones. Okay, that's just the limit. Now, this dynamic agent, all this means is that you can sit back depending upon the language that you're actually getting the review in. So if you get it in Spanish or Italian, then if it's set to dynamic, it will automatically reply back with the same kind of language for the reply. Okay, if it's not, if you don't want this, if you want it to be fixed, meaning no matter what language it is, you always want it to be English in response, then you want to move this to fixed. Now here, if you look at the review sources, this is where, all Google pages, all Facebook pages, but this right here, this review source is where you can also include some of those other integrations that we talked about as well. So that is pretty cool. And again, you can put the review type rating and things like that, but let me scroll back down because I can't get this. The biggest thing I want to do is this footer area. The footer is something that you can always program in here. No matter what the response is from ChatGPT, you can always have this particular footer be something that you program in. Now this is something that was available even on the original agent, but the cool thing about this is because you can use this round robin approach, now you can have different footers say different things and mix the reviews up so that your same footer is not being used on every reply, and helps it make it look less automated. So anyway, those are the things that you can do inside of here that I thought were pretty cool with regards to the Review AI agent. Keep in mind that you are still paying for this every time you use this. But again, guys, this right here is how you would build a Google review system. Now, ultimately, when you go through this entire process, you might spend, honestly, a couple of days building, here's how I want my basic system and service to work, and then get started with that. Try to keep it simple. Okay, don't try to come up with some huge elaborate system, because the more complex something is, the more problems you could potentially have with this. Okay, so just please keep that in mind. So if you are starting with this, start out simple, create a workflow with just a couple of emails that get sent out, do the trigger link thing to sit back, have a couple of tags to say, okay, this person has never, if they were never tagged, then we can send the review request. Now, one of the things I haven't talked about really here is about how to do database reactivation, which is a term that people have used to say, hey, give me your old customers and let me load your old customers in here. And then I'm going to simply start emailing those people, because even though they've been serviced in the past, they may still remember you and leave you a review as well. So again, you can have a whole other campaign workflow for people and have a different email template for people who are, who have been customers in the past, okay, versus people who have just been serviced by the customer. So you can build that system into your process as well. If you want to do this, again, that could be a part of your service. It's like, hey, we'll do this for you. That could be an additional cost. I don't know. That's going to be completely up to you. That could be an add-on package if you want to. That, right now the base package is just working with the customers that you have, sending out the existing requests. Then you could say, well, I can have a higher level automation. This is the one that we talked about where you're synchronizing contacts between their existing system and Highlevel. If you want to do that, that could be another $100 more a month. Oh, do you want us to do database reactivation? Well, we're just going to charge you X, number of dollars per month while we're still doing that. And then, if we go through all of your customers in 3 months, then you stop paying for that. Something like that. But you can have multiple packages or include the packages in there if you want. This is completely up to you on how you want to design it. So anyway, I hope you found it useful. I hope you found it that this is something that you can easily start building. Now keep in mind, we have not gone over any of the other features inside of Highlevel. For your clients, that is, the clients. We haven't talked about funnels. We haven't talked about websites, no website chat widgets, nothing like that. Just maybe 2 to 5 email templates that are being built, probably 2 to 5 workflows that are being built for this. We've talked about getting the review AI agents set up. So this whole process you see can literally be done. If you have your snapshots and all that stuff is already deployed and you've got that stuff already, setting this up should be very straight and simple to do a simple onboarding call and get these people set up in anywhere between 20, 30 minutes and have them up and working and sending out these things in real time. Now, if you're doing the higher level automation piece, just keep in mind that process could take some trial and error. So with that, but anyway, hope you found it useful. Thanks so much for hanging out with me, guys. I know I went a little bit over on this one, but there's a lot of information I want to give you. Thanks so much. And if you have not subscribed to my channel, click on the subscribe button. I will see you next week, and you guys have a great day. Bye-bye.